That is, we had an interesting story with Rav was by the Reish Galusa, so he was in, we call it the king's palace, right? And a deer was brought in, of which there was a chashash that it was a treifa, because it was missing the bottom of one of its legs. So Rav was boidik, just to make sure that the tzumas hagidin, which was still not cut off, he always wanted to check to make sure it didn't get damaged, and it turned out that it was kosher. The Gemara tells us he wanted to eat it be'umtza. Be'umtza is a weird way to eat it. Einid tzli kol kach b'taner. It's not fully roasted. Elamocher mi'oid. They heavily salted. V'tzerleu koldahu, and they roasted a little bit al hagacholim on coals. It was a weird way of preparing it. Omer Shmuel lechai yishmar linikure. I believe this is the Ben Yehoyada that I'm saying over from. So Shmuel said, aren't you worried that this might have been attacked by a snake? Omer lei maitakanta. So it's interesting that Rav would then turn around and ask Shmuel, maitakanta, what should I do? Don't eat it. What was his question? So he said, noisli b'tanura, put it in the oven. The iu badak nafshay, that'll be a litmus test, because the results of putting it in the oven will reveal to us if there was poison injected here. Oisvei and nafal tilchi tilchi. The pieces were falling apart, which is a sign that the meat was pre-deteriorated because it was saturated with venom. So Shmuel's bringing this to Rav's attention saved his life. So Kari Shmuel led the Rav, lo yu'una l'tzadik kol. The tzadik's never going to have a bad thing happen to him. And Rav gave all the credit to Shmuel. Kari Rav led Shmuel, kol roz lo ya'aneslach. There's no, this is what Nebuchadnezzar told Daniel, no secret is hidden from you. You have the chokhmah to decipher everything. So, I think it's the Ben Yehoyada says over here very beautifully that Rav had a policy never to eat meat by anybody. Now he was in a difficult position here because you don't want to tell the Rosh Galusa, I'm not eating by you. Now why did Rav not eat meat by anybody? Because he was choishish for three things, and I don't know if I remember it with perfect clarity, but I'm going to just share what I remember. A is he was afraid that it wouldn't be salted properly. And if it's not salted properly, there'll be a shayla of dam. The second concern that he had was they wouldn't take the chaylev out of it properly, and there would be a problem of chaylev. I don't remember what the third thing that he was concerned with was. So here, he found himself in a tight spot, because as far as the chaylev issue, there's no issue with chaylev because this is a chaylev. As far as the not being salted properly and not getting all the blood out, it was umta, it was also roasted. It was salted and it was roasted. So he was in a little difficult position here. He didn't want to be eating meat by anybody, yet the circumstances turned out that he was having a difficult time being able to refuse without a decent excuse, because otherwise it would insult the Reish Galusa. So Shmuel knew that, and Shmuel wanted to help Rav stick to his Kabbalah, to stick to his guns and not eat. So Shmuel brought up, hey, there might be poison here. And in fact, they checked and there was poison. So Rav was so relieved that he didn't have to break his minig not to eat. And that's why Shmuel said, Rav, lo yu'una l'tzadik halavan, meaning even if it's not an aveira, even something that you didn't want to do, Hashem will prevent you, will find ways to prevent you from violating your Kabbalah. And kol Rav le Shmuel, kol roz le'aneslach, no secret gets hidden from you. The secret that you chapped, that I was looking for a respectful way not to eat the meat, and you helped me find a very good excuse. Zogt the Gemara weiter. Zogt the Heilige Mishnah. Simone behema v'chaya number min HaTorah. The simonim that tell us what type of behemoths and what type of chayas are kosher, the Torah tells us. We know they're mafres parsa and they're malay gera. The Torah puts chaya and behema into one category legabe, which ones we're allowed to eat. But v'simon ha'oif lo number. The Torah lists off all of the oifos by name that are kosher, but there's no simon for us to be able to examine the bird and determine whether or not it's kosher. It's either on the list or not on the list. Aval Amr Chachamim, but and as a matter of fact, the famous shtickle is turkey. The Kamenetskis do not eat turkey because they don't have it in the Kabbalah and their family that the turkey was on the list. Aval Amr Chachamim, the Chachamim did give physical indicators as to whether or not a bird is kosher, and they said Kol Oif Hadoros, if it's a bird of prey, tamei. Any bird of prey is tamei. And kol sheyesh le etzba yisera, if it has an extra finger, and we will see what that means in the picture. V'zefek, and it has a zefek, which means on the way down to the stomach, there's a little sac that helps the pre-digestion. And v'kor kavana niklaf, it's called a crop. Yeah. That's right. It's called a crop because it has in it crop with an A. That's why it's called a crop, right? And then its stomach has a characteristic that it could be peeled. There's a membrane inside, internally, that could be peeled. Tahar, that's a sign of a tahar bird. So we know that a bird of prey is not tahar, and birds that are not of prey generally have these three characteristics. So let's have a look at what these things are. So, this is the little extra finger. You know, when they used to sell the feet of chickens in the butcher, there was the three fingers and this little extra finger that was a little bit higher up, and normally it faced the back. So that's what he says. According to Rashi, the Etzbisera, an additional toe, is the rear toe, which is higher than the other three. Other Rishonim understand it to be the middle of the three front toes, which is longer than the other two. So those are the two sheets in the Rishonim of what the extra toe is. Then you have the zefek, we know, is the crop, and the korkovan and niklav, they actually demonstrate, this is like the cross section of a korkovan, and there's actually a membrane inside it that could be peeled off. So those are the three signs of a kosher bird. Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok Omer, Kol Oif Hachoylek Es Raglov Tomei. If you ever want to put the bird on a perch, on a stick or something, if it's two fingers go in front and two fingers go in the back, and that's how it grabs the stick to hold on to, Tomei, because that's exactly how it would grab its prey as well.
Our school has a picture
of that. That's the bluebird over there. There are two in front. Macaw. Oh, exactly.
Two in the back.
Right. So that's called a bird of prey. So let's see what Rashi says. Rashi says, if you wanted to stand on a wire or on a rod, thank you. So that is the oif. What about grasshoppers? How do you know which grasshopper is tar? It has to have 4 legs, the arba knafayim, and 4 wings. And here there's a machlokes Rashi and the Rishonim. Rashi's goris like we have. The Chullin, it also has those big legs that it jumps with. And uknofav chayfin isruboy. Its wings cover its roiv. Now there are those who are goris the kartzulav uknofav chayfin isruboy. So Rashi learned to just, if it has those legs, that's the siman. Other Rishonim learn that if those legs cover roiv its body, as well as its wings that cover roiv its body, then it's going to be kosher. Rabbi Yosy Omer u'shemei chagav. So that makes it sound like there is only one species that has these characteristics, and it would be called the chagav. Okay, let's have a look at the picture. Again, we have pictures over here. So let's see what this has. This is a longhorned grasshopper. So it has that long leg that we were talking about, the big long leg. And then I see it has 2 legs on this side and 2 legs on the other side. So I'm not sure if this counts. Maybe it doesn't have 4 wings. So it has, there's an English word for the cart seal. I just don't remember what it's called. And it had a tail, and here's a cart seal on this side, but I guess it doesn't have the wings. An Egyptian grasshopper also has that big leg, and it also has another 4 legs. I'm not sure how many wings it has. And then you have the long necked grasshopper. So I'm not sure if these are, I assume these are the ones that are not kosher, because they don't have the 4 wings that cover the body. I wonder if he doesn't have a picture of a chogov here. So he only has a picture of non-kosher insects. Somehow, they don't look very appetizing, even the kosher ones. But there are people who do eat them. Okay. Zog to Gemara weiter. Uvedogim, how do you know which fish are kosher? Kol sheyesh le'snapir v'kaskeses. It has to have fins, and it has to have scales. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, shnei kaskashin, it only has to have 2 scales to be kosher. Usnapir echad, and even only 1 fin. The eloid kashkashin, hakfuyim boy, the kashkashin, the scales are those that are on the body of the fish itself. Usnapirin, and the fins, haparechben, that's how it flies through the water. Shot behem al hamoyim. Okay, that we're most familiar with. Tanu Rabbanan. Eluhain simone behema. Called behema mafreses parsa. So the Brisa gets into the details of the simone of the behema. So the Brisa says, Kol behema shemalas gera. Any animal that you know, you can verify that it chews its cud, b'yadua she'ein la shinayim l'mayla. It does not have front teeth. It has molars, but it doesn't have front teeth. It has bottom teeth. So in the front, it doesn't have teeth on top, but it has teeth on the bottom, just to grab the vegetation and rip it off. But there's no teeth on top. And therefore, utahira. So he has over here a picture of a kosher animal, the mouth of a cow. You could see there's teeth on the bottom, but on the top there's just like some tissue. There's no teeth there. A gomo. Now this is not a gomo, but this is a camel. The camel has like fangs that it could bite with. So a gomo is not a kosher animal. So there's 2 pshatim in Rashi. Either it means fangs or it means teeth. One of the teeth comes to a little bit of a point, and we'll see that soon. So that is not a camel is not a kosher animal, but a cow is a kosher animal, and cows do not have the upper front teeth.
Well, this is another simile, because it's not the main one.
Correct, but it's giving us important information, because what if you don't have access to its hoofs? You don't have access to its hoofs. So if you see it chews its cud and it doesn't have upper teeth, then you could also rely on the fact that it's kosher.
You know if it's an animal that will chew it.
That's right. So kol behema shemalas geira b'yedua she'ein lo shinayim l'mayla. Any animal that chews its cud does not have upper front teeth. The Gemara is going to ask shortly that it's not true. There are animals that chew their cud that do have upper front teeth. Utar will be tar. How could it be? A camel is malagera, and it doesn't have teeth in the front. V'tamei, and it's tamei. Zokt Gemara, gomo nivi islay. It has nivi. So either nivi are those fangs. I'm not sure what they're called. So Rashi says shtei shinayim yeshlei l'mayla. Achas mikan v'achas mikan. They have 2 teeth, one on one side, one on the other side. Those are those sharp fangs. I'm not sure. I call them fangs.
Canines.
They're called canines.
Even in humans.
Because in a vampire, they're called fangs. No, the vampire has 2 longer teeth.
What vampire are you talking about?
The gambesusim, heidnikoris.
They're called canines.
Oh, they're called canines?
In all animals.
But they're referred to as canines.
Like
the teeth are called canines.
Yeah, dentists will say these are your canines.
Okay. The gambesusim heidikoris, they're also visible in horses. So a camel only has those. But a horse, which has more than that, they have these teeth as well. Chanochem shekoin yansevish yeshla ubolten. V'nikra moka blitoson zu etzazu kishinayim. So either one of the teeth sticks out a little bit, or they're those canine teeth. So the gomel has those, and therefore it's not a kosher animal. Frag the Gemara, a baby camel, before it grows in its adult teeth, the nive nami leslie. It doesn't have nive. So you're going to say that a baby camel will be kosher? Visu, hare shofan. A shofan, I looked up, it's called a larynx or something. I have no idea what type of animal it is. Does he say over there in Ashko what it is? Because in the Chumash he touches it. It's something like a larynx or something. How does he touch a shofan?
What's it called?
A herix?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. You know what the animal is?
Yeah, I saw it once when I was in Eretz Israel.
What does it look like? Look like a rabbit?
It's like the size of a rabbit.
Okay. By nevis and a rabbit. The malas gerahing.
I saw a weird animal, and then later I found out what it was.
It was a shofan.
Yeah, that
Okay.
wasn't kosher.
But the mila gerahing, they're both mila gerah. I didn't even know rabbits chew their cud. V'yesh lem shinayim mila, and they have teeth. Everyone knows the rabbit's teeth are pronounced. And utmein. V'oid, another kasha we have is shinayim miksidi baraisa. You made up your own siman of teeth, not having teeth. Where does it say anything about teeth? Elahachi kamer. We have to modify what the Brisa says. And the Brisa says, Kol behema she'ein lo shinayim l'mayla. It doesn't mean any behemoth malas gera will not have teeth and will therefore be kosher. No, you look at it from the other angle. An animal that doesn't have front, upper teeth, b'yadua she malas gera. You could take it to the bag that that's a malas gera, and that it's a mafresh parsa utahira. So therefore, all you need to check is the mouth. And if it does not have front, upper teeth, you can take it to the bank that this is a kosher animal. Frag to Gemara, why do you need to do that? Just check to see if it has split hoofs. The lived dog with parshay sah. Zok to Gemara, kegoyin shahayu parshay sah chatuchos. What if you have an animal that all of its 4 feet are cut off, so you can't examine it to see if it's mafresh parsa? If you find that it doesn't have upper front teeth, then you can assume it is kosher. Now, mafresh parsa doesn't just mean that there's a split in their hoof. It means there's actually 2 fingers. There are 2 independent hoofs. A horse has 1 hoof. The cow has actually 2 hoofs. They're like 2 fingers. If you look inside and take an X-ray, they're split all the way. Same thing with this animal. I don't know which animals are. This is a cow and this is a deer. But I'll call upon them. The point is that they're completely split, even inside. It's not just like a crack in the hoof. There's 2. They move independently. They're like on 2 fingers.
Oh.
They're like an independent rear suspension, you know,
Yeah.
like the 2 adonim. Okay, so Zok to Gemara weiter. I'm on the wrong page, I think. So Zok to Gemara weiter. So if you couldn't see their legs, you have a way to check. You're walking in the midbar. You found an animal that has split hoofs. You check its mouth. If it doesn't have upper front teeth, Im lav, but if it has upper front teeth, you just have to be careful that because a gomel doesn't have front teeth either, and don't mistake it with a gomel. You have to be able to recognize a gomel. What do you mean gomel? Gomel niviously. We said it has these upper canines. Elo ben gomel. As long as you know what a ben gomel looks like, and you know that this animal that you found that you're not sure about is not a ben gomel, then you could assume that it's a kosher animal, because the only other animal that would have these characteristics would be the ben gomel. So all you need to do is rule that out, and you could assume it's a kosher animal. Frank Gemara, I don't understand. How could you be so sure? La varmet ika ben gomel. The same way you have an exception to this rule, and you can find an animal that has no upper front teeth, and it might be a treifa. Maybe there are others. Ika nami mina achrina the dami ben leben gomel. How could you be so sure that there's no other animal out there that has the same characteristics as the ben gomel? And the problem is, if you don't recognize it as a behemoth tamea, then you can't rely on the siman. Zokt Gemara lo yisol kadaitach. The Tanya Devei Rabbi Shmuel, the Torah says exceptions to the rules of Malagera. And the Torah lists of 3 animals that are the exception to the rule: the gomel, the shofan, and the arneves. So the Torah says, "V'sagomel kimale gera hu shalit b'olamai." Hakadosh Baruch Hu, who rules the world, Yodaya knows she'ein loch dover male gera v'tamai ele gomel. Lefichach poet b'rakos of who? It says "V'sagomel kimale gera hu." It doesn't say "V'sagomel kimale gera." He says "kimale gera hu" to tell us that this is the only exception. Your Torah has to be min hashemayim. Who could be sure that there's no other species that exists like this in the world? The Torah is telling us there's no species that exists in the world that would not have front teeth and that chew its cud other than the ben gomel. Why did you find an animal who you don't see its mouth? So therefore you can't tell if it has the siman of missing its upper front teeth. So boidik b'bar sesah. That animal, you can check its hooves. In Parsha says sedukais, if it has split hoofs, b'yadua she Torah. In Lav, if it doesn't have split hoofs, b'yadua she Tameya. Uvavat she yaker chazir. The problem is a chazir also has split hoofs. So you'd have to make sure that whichever animal you found is not a chazir. If you know it's not a chazir, then you can assume if it has split hoofs, it's kosher. Fragt the Gemara, how could you be so sure? Lav omrit ika chazir. Maybe ikanami mina achina dedami lechazer. Maybe there's another min that's not kosher that also has split hooves, just like the chazer itself. So K'mor lo sol k'daitach. The Tana Devei Rabbi Shmuel ves achazer kimafresh parsha hu sholet ba'olomai. The Rebbeinu Shalom yodea she'ein lach dover shemafresh parsha v'tamei el chazer lefirchat poret ba'akosavu. Hakadosh Baruch Hu was telling us the only animal with split hooves that is not kosher is the kusher the chazer fisel. What if you were in the midbar and you found an animal whose mouth is cut off so you can't tell from the teeth, and its legs are cut off so you can't tell if it has split hooves? So what do? There's still one other option. You analyze the meat of the animal. Im mahalach shesi ve'erev. Now normally meat has a grain. If the meat has a grain, but it goes both directions, wherever you pull from, it'll split nicely. B'yadua shi Torah, that tells you that this is a Torah animal. V'mlav, but if the animal its grain is only in one direction, so then b'yadua shi Tameya, uvilvad shi yakir orud, as long as you recognize the orud, which is a wild donkey, whose meat also splits in both ways, but it's not a kosher animal. Frek the Gemara, lav omrid ika orud. The same way there's an orud that has similar grains of meat, ekonami minachrina the domin orud. And here you can't say the Torah says, because the Torah doesn't say anything about it. So Gemara, you're right, but Gemiri, we know we have a Kabbalah, the Reka, there's no other animal that's not kosher, that the meat has grains in both directions, other than the orud. Which meat on the body do you check? You check under the tail. That's the place to check. That's how you'll know. Rashi says not kanfei ukuts, but tachas ukuts. Tachas etzema alya shekoin anka. Yesh basa, there's meat there. Shekisha koin naisa. If you tear it, nikra shesi, v'yesh nikra erev. Some tear in one direction, some in the other direction, and if it tears in both directions, then you know that it's a kosher animal. Simanei chaya. Tana Rabbanan. Elohen simanei chaya. Gemara, why do I need simanei chaya? Did I not already tell you that chaya and behema are lumped together in one general rule? Chaya bechlal behema hi l'simonim. As Rashi's kosher, Taksiv zois hachaya, when it talks about which behemoths are kosher, and it tells us the mafresh parsa and the malagera, it says zois hachaya shetachelu. Chaya is a heading that includes behemoths and chayas. So why do we need a simon for a chaya? Omar Abzer, you know why we need to know what is technically a chaya rather than a behemoth, even though they're both mutar b'achila? How do we know which animals don't have a problem of chaylev? So that's we want to know, what is the simon of an animal that you can eat its chaylev? That's what the Bryce is looking for, and here's where it gets a little bit complicated. Kol sheyesh lo karnayim, if it has horns, utlafayim, and Rashi says tzipornei haparsois. It has like a point. It comes to a point on its feet. You could see the comparison between the cow and the deer. This is the cow's foot. It ends up sort of flat, but the deer foot sort of ends up in a point. So those are two simonim of a chaya whose chelev will be mutter. Rabbi Omar yesh la karnayim. If you see that it has horns, you don't got to check to see if its hooves are pointy. And yesh la toflayim, but if its hooves are pointy, you still have to make sure that it has horns in order to know that it's a kosher. In order to know that it's a chaya. The koresh is a unicorn. It's an animal that only has one horn. Even though it only has one horn, mutter, it has a din of a chaya and its chaylev is mutter. So, are you telling me that's a rule? Any animal with horns is a chaya? Every goat, the yeshle karnayim, it has horns and utlafayim, and it has hooves. V'chel Zok to Gemara, and here's where it gets a little bit confusing, because there's multiple ways to learn this. Even in Rashi Gufa, there's two pshatim. Zok the Gemara karuchos be'inon. You need that the horn should be karuchos. Now, what do karuchos mean? So Rashi over here on top says it's gilde klipa in karnei ashar. The horns grow in layers. So when you look at the horn, you could see it's one layer that grew over another layer. That's what you need. Now the problem is Rashi later on actually refers to kruchos as that means they're round. A cross section of the horn has to be round. So we have two pshatim here. Either the A's is not a chaya because its horns are not kruchos, meaning it's not in layers, or it's because its horns are not, a cross section of its horns are not round. They're more rectangular or triangular in shape. If you look at a cross section, I think the Gemara about a shor the kruchos. The shor also has a layered horn, and it's round. V'chel be'aser, and its chelev is aser. It has the characteristics that you identified as those that identify a chaya. Zok to Gemara chayrukos inon. You need another thing. You need chayrukos. Now Rashi learns that we are currently aborting the first teretz of kruchos, and now we're saying all you need are charukos. Rashi's charukos means meleos pegimos v'charitzim. The horn isn't smooth. The horns are very bumpy, as you could see in the pictures here. These horns are all bumpy. They're not a smooth horn. They're not a smooth horn at all, and therefore that would be a characteristic. That would be a characteristic of a chaya. So the Gemara says that's what you need. It has to be bumpy. But an A's does have bumpy horns. V'chel be'aser. Yet it has the din of a behemoth and its chelev is aser. So charukos can't either be what the distinction is between a chaya and a behemoth. Zok Gemara mifutzalos be'inan. You need mifutzalos, meaning forked. Like we know a deer has, the antlers come out, and it's not just one horn, it spreads into many different directions. It forks off. But a tzvi is not mifutzalos. The chalev mutter. So right away Rashi asks, what do you mean that tzvi is mifutzalos? We all see a deer, and we all know there is mifutzalos. So therefore Rashi says that when the Gemara here says tzvi, it's referring to a steinbock. I'm not sure what that is, but it's a type of animal that's not a deer. It's a steinbock. I once had a Talmud that was like a steinbock. So that has a single horn. That is a single horn. However, Tosfos actually argues on Rashi, and Tosfos says Avada tzvi means it's tzvi. So he learns that mifutzalos does not mean what Rashi says, that it splits up into different directions, Tosfos learns that the definition of mevutzalos is mevutzalos. He actually changes the Yosy from mevutzalos to mevutzalos, meaning that the horns go straight up and then they turn. But of a deer, they go straight up and they don't turn. So this is the mevutzalos. They go up but they turn. They go up and they turn. That is what mevutzalos means. So therefore, Tosfos can say that a tzvi means a tzvi. Okay. Zok to Gemara. The Torah says, "Avo tzvi the ein mevutzalos v'chal b'moter." So Gemara because chaduros ba'inon. Now Rashi learns it's not chaduros, it's chadudos. They have to be sharp. Rashi has two pshatim. Either that chaduros means round, and that's why up there when he touched kruchos, it must mean that it's layered. Because if kruchos means round, then how did chaduros mean round? But Rashi's second shot is that it means chadudos. It means that it's sharp. It comes to a point. The horns of a chaya come to a point. Shechadin l'mayla, they're sharp on top. Therefore, let's break it all down now that we've had so many different signs and symbols and symptoms. Hechad miftzala. If it's a miftzala, either it means it branches into many antlers, like Rashi learns, or like Tosfos learns that it goes up and then it turns. There's no question that it's for sure a chaya and its chaylev is mutter. Hecha the loy miftzala, but if you don't have that sure sign, well then you need the other signs, multiple signs. Being in kruchos, it has to be round so that we know it's not an ace. It means chadudos, it has to be sharp as well to tell us that it's not an ace. V'charukos, it also has to be layered, so we shouldn't mix it up with a shar. V'hu de mivla chirkayu. Now that we say it has to be layered, there has to be like one layer has to be tight over the other layer, so each layer is very close to each other. V'hainu sveka de iza karkus, and that is the suffix of iza karkus, because it has the symptoms of a chaya, but it's called an ace, which is a behema, and therefore they're mesopik if its chaylev would be mutter. Let's have a look at Rashi. Ba'inin chaduros, kruchos, v'charukos. If you don't have mefutzalos, you need all three. Now one of them is a little bit redundant, so you need it to nepuk misveka dekulu, in order that we won't have any possibility that this is a behema. Charukos you need, and that's either the multiple layers are round, lafuka misveka de shar, to make sure we don't mix it up with a shar. No, charukos means, let's look at Rashi again, what he says. Charukos means meleus pegibus v'charitzin. Right, it has to have bumps on it, so that if it has bumps on it, then we don't need to be concerned that this is a shar, and the shar is not going to be a chaya. Chaduros, which Rashi says either be sharp or round, lafuka me'ez, to make sure that we don't mix it up with a goat. Shein rechavos, and kruchos is also lafuka nami misveka de'ez. Kruchos also is to make sure that we don't mix it up with an ace. Even though an ace does not have sharp horns, so therefore what do I need kruchos for? Why can't I just rely on the fact that it doesn't have sharp horns? Because yesh ace karkus, there is an ace of karkus. There is an ace of karkus, sheshmei ace, it's called an ace. V'kain of chaduros, v'charukos, it has sharp, round horns. Umesav kolon imina de ezu, and we're still afraid it might be an ace. The mivlach hakayu, you also need that charitzent kuvos usmuchen muvlon zabazah. You need each layer has to be tight to one another, and behind the svekid is a karkos, a kind of chaduros v'charukos. It has all the symptoms of a chaya, but umesav kolon kivon the chaduros v'charukos chayu. On one side it could be a chaya because it has the symptoms, or doma kivon the shmei, but the fact is it's called a goat. So therefore, min behemahu. So Reb Shimon is pointing out to me that in the art scroll, it gives us a lot of pictures to compare to. So I guess this is the right, and this is the goat.
Yeah.
So its cross section is not round. They don't. The Mesivta actually had a picture of the cross section of it, and these are chayes esum. A gazelle, a deer, they all have points, and they all have mefutzolos. They go up and they turn. And or mefutzolos could mean it goes into branches. So these are the different animals that have the simonim of a chaya.
Visit the zoo, you look out for that.
I'm sorry?
Visit the zoo.
And then you can look it up. Exactly. You know, to us, we're so used to having everything commercial. But imagine you get stuck somewhere in the countryside and you need to identify what's a kosher animal. So this information could be very helpful, especially if you're a Boy Scout. But you'd have to know how to shecht, otherwise it wouldn't really help you. So we had a story. Hahi Iza the karkus, that animal where we have a suffix about, it was in the house of the Reish Kalusa, and it had so much chaylev in it, the okra mole tzana the tarbo mina, and they took a whole big basket full of fat out of it. Now this is a suffix. Is it a chaya and you're allowed to eat the chaylev or not? So Rabbi Choy held you're not allowed to eat this fat. It might be a behema. Rav Shmuel he ate it. Korya nafshe, he said regarding himself, mipri ish tispa bitnai. A person will eat from his payers, meaning bischar sheshamati v'kibalti shel muter in the schar that I worked hard and I was makabel from my rebbe that this is muter bitni sova mimenu. I'm able to satiate myself with this fat. Shalchu mitam, they sent from there hilchas of Yisrael, hilchas of Avosei de Shmuel, Bereder Abavo. We paskin l'kula like Reb Shmuel Bereder Abavo, but by no means is Rabbi Choy a lightweight. Therefore, v'izharu b'Rabbeinu Achoy shemeir einay golahu. So even if you're going to eat it, don't eat it right in front of him. Don't paskin right in front of him. You can eat it, but don't be chutzpahdik and fly in his face, because he was a very choshev person, as Rashi says, v'hizaru b'Rabbeinu Achoy linuk by COVID v'lodin l'fanav kalocha ad sheyachzer boy. Don't paskin against him until he himself is choshev and is moidi to us. V'lo la'atir b'fanav. Don't be matter in front of him because he holds not allowed masher. Because shemer einay golahu, you don't want to be fighting with him. The keresh, the one-horned animal, aval b'shem kernachas muter, has the din of a chaya. Amar Yehuda, keresh is a tavi the be'iloi. It's the deer of the forest of be'iloi. Tagris is the ari de be'iloi. It's the lion of be'iloi. Amar Kana, Teisha Amhosa Hava Ben Una Luna. This is such a massive lion that from ear to ear, going across its head, is 9 amas. So you're talking about its head is about 18 feet in diameter. We're talking about a very big lion. Ben Una Luna, the Ari de Beiloi. Amar Yosef, Shitza Hamasa, there's 16 amas, Hava Moshche, the Tavi de Beiloi. The length of a deer beiloi is 60 amas. That's 30 feet. You have an animal that's 30 feet long. These are some huge animals. Amar leKeser Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. The Keser told Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, Elokechem ka'ari basel. Your God is compared to a lion. A lion is a mighty, but humans can take down a lion. They say Aryeh Shog. A lion will scream. Milo Yira, will everyone up afraid? And this is an Amos that's talking about, so too when Hashem gives a Navi a Nevuah, Avada, the Navi is going to deliver the Nevuah. So it's comparing the Rebbeinu Shalom to an Ari. Ma'abu say, what's the big deal? Parsha Kotlari, a big Gibor, can take down a lion. So your God is not so great. Amarei, Lav Kahai Ari Basel. When Hashem is being compared to a lion, it's not the regular lion that you see in the zoo. It's Ka'ari Devei muscle, which is huge. Amalei, Ba'ina Demexis Lenaheli. I want you to show it to me. You're talking about this lion, show it to me. I don't believe you that there's a lion of that size. Amalei Lebatzis Chazosla. You cannot see it. Amalei, Ivra Chazina lei. I do want to see it. So, boy Rachme. So, Rabbi Shua ben Chananya davened to Rabbi Yisrael that it should come, show itself to the king. It's Akri Duchte. It uprooted itself from the forest of Beiloi, and it started approaching the city of Rome. When it was 400 parsa away from Rome, Nihem Chat Kola. It let out a roar, a lion's roar. Afilu Kol Ma'avarta. Everyone who was expecting in the whole area lost their child from the fear and the noise of that roar. V'shur deremi nofal, and the wall around the city collapsed merely from the roar of the lion that was 400 parsa away. And this king was a tough guy, and he said, "Okay, keep on coming, baby." When it got to 300 parsa, even closer, niyam kol achrina, it roared again. Nasr kachi v'shini begavri, all of the teeth of the men fell out. V'afhu nafal merkusai la'ara, and the king fell off his throne. He was thrown to the ground. He realized this is a force he doesn't want to see. Amalei, he told Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, please, bo rachem alei to laheder leduchte. Daven that this lion should turn around and go back to the forest. It's going to cost too much damage. I believe you that it's such a big lion. Bo rachem alei laheder asrei. Amalei case of Rabbi Shua. We have a whole bunch of stories of the discussions. We'll just leave one more story and then we'll stop. Amalei case of Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, be'ino de ichsi lelekechu. I want to see your God. Amalei lemotzes chazos, you can't see him. Amalei, I went anyway. Ivra chazina, I want to see him. So, Ozol ukme lahad yoyma bitkufas tamus. He set him up in front of the sun in the heat of the summer, where the sun is the brightest. Amalei istakelbei, go stare into the sun. Amalei lematina, I can't stare into the sun. Amalei yoyma, the sun. The chad mishamshi, the kaime kamei, the kutsha b'richu. It's only one of the many different mishorshim that serve in front of Hashem. Amrit loy matina l'staklebe, and you can't even look at his Shabbos. Shechina l'kol and you want to see the Shechina? You can't even look at one of the mishamshim of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. How could you even think that you'd be able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself? Okay, we'll stop here, Be'ez Hashem, and we'll mamshach tomorrow.